We're now going to switch gears and move on to our next session. It's titled Creating a Legacy Through Memory Making, Storytelling, and Advocacy. So we all create unique legacies throughout our life. This may involve sharing your values and your skills with your loved ones, or capturing your family's history in a meaningful way, maybe creating artwork, or even leaving a legacy of advocacy. So in this session, you're going to join Paula and Tammy as they discuss what a legacy is and share how they're creating legacies for themselves and others, and also explore innovative ways in which you can capture and share your personal legacy. So you'll learn how legacy work is not only important for the afters or the others, but it also can be very healing, maybe even exhilarating and fun for the present time and for you. So Paula Holmes-Rodman, PhD, is an anthropologist, writer, and caregiver for her sister, who is an ovarian cancer survivor and on the autism spectrum. Paula is currently studying narrative medicine at the University of Toronto, and she's interested in illness narratives, health equity, and solidarity storytelling. She's an advocate for autistic cancer patients and has developed a guide to help support their cancer journeys. Paula lives with her husband and 2 cats on Vancouver Island, where she finds solace on rocky, windy beaches and deep in the forest. And then joining Paula, we have Tammy Townsend. Tammy was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2021. And after her recurrence in 2022, she made the really difficult decision to retire from a job that she loved as a massage therapist. So it was at this time that Tammy began volunteering with us at Ovarian Cancer Canada on our online platform of Dialogue. So you'll see her there, better known as Strong Woman, offering support, compassion, and encouragement. So a big welcome to Tammy, and Paula and Tammy, I'll pass it over to you.
Great, thank you. Everybody can hear me? So my name is Paula, and thanks, Sally. So my Teal sister is my real sister, Lindsay. And Lindsay is a 4-year ovarian cancer survivor. This fall, she's dealing with recurrence. And I've been her person, walking with her, advocating for her as an autistic cancer patient, discovering along the way what it means to tell her story as an act of solidarity, as an act of living legacy. It has also meant figuring out along the way what it means to create memories and craft meaning while she's still alive. I think legacy work does not have to be a somber endeavor. It's not all about gravestones and obituaries and scholarships at the schools you attended. That's big L legacy work in my mind. And if these projects feel right for you and your loved ones, I encourage you to pursue them. But these big L legacy projects can be miniaturizing, reductive even. They shorten a life to a few facts. Think of all the space there is or is not on a grave marker or in an obituary. Not much. You are more than just this space allows. So my understanding of legacy work is whole person work. It can fill your heart and the hearts of those who love you, and remind you that you are more than ovarian cancer. So today I want to talk to you about what I call small L legacy work, the life-affirming, feel-good kind of living legacy, the legacy work you do while you're still alive. And I'll talk about, and I know Tammy will as well, about how legacy work is not just for the afters and for other people, but for the now and for you. This small L legacy work is about creating something together with your loved ones and for your loved ones. Yes, with an awareness of the seriousness of illness and maybe the shortness of time, but still infused with joy, laughter, appreciation, a little bit of goofiness, and full attention to the entire cancer experience. So briefly, for our purposes, what is legacy work? Really simply, it's about being remembered. We all want to be remembered for the things that we think make us, us. And legacy work is about helping shape those memories, helping construct the narrative and tell our own story, and do so in creative ways that feel right for you and for your loved ones in the now, in the right now. And in this way, legacy work is an act of control, and I use that word very carefully, and it's an act of healing in what can feel like a really uncontrollable and unhealable situation like ovarian cancer. It's about finding a way to say, as in my sister Lindsay's case, hey, I'm not just a woman who's dealing with recurrent ovarian cancer. I'm the auntie of 2 tiny nieces who loves Okanagan cherries and thinks everyone should wear red all winter long. I'm the sister whose favorite song is Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. And I'm the daughter who believes strongly in all forms of social justice. All of that does not fit on a gravestone or even in an obituary. But maybe in finding the right way for you to do this kind of small L legacy work, you might find the process healing, expansive, inspiring, and it's a gift, not only to yourself, but to your loved ones. Ovarian cancer might claim your physical body. It might. I know you're working on it, but it doesn't mean that ovarian cancer gets to claim all that you are. Your hopes, your dreams, your stories, your creativity, your recipes, your songs, your laughter, your gardens, your bad jokes, your weird dance moves, your strong opinions, your wisdom, your voice in this world. Expressing all of these creatively is the job of small L legacy work. So let's hear from Tammy, who's a person living with ovarian cancer and someone who's found a myriad of really innovative ways to create really unique legacy items for herself and for other people.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Tammy Townsend, and I'm more often known as Strong Woman on Ove Dialogue. I was honored to be asked to speak about legacy work for the symposium by Marianne and Stephanie. While I was sharing my journey with others and my legacy work on Ove Dialogue, I was not aware that so many others appreciated what I was sharing. I do feel that I have encouraged others to begin some of their own legacy projects and that I relay how it has helped me along the way. I myself came to Ove Dialogue when I was first diagnosed with stage 3 low-grade ovarian cancer in 2021. I recall going to a post-surgical follow-up appointment and the gynecological oncologist nurse telling me about Ove Dialogue and how beneficial it could be for myself. I remember looking at her and saying, I'm all good, I'm already signed up and I'm using it. She was a bit taken aback that I had already found this fabulous resource. Can you imagine their surprise today to find out my current involvement in Ove Dialogue? My journey has been like many others. I had debulking surgery, which included a radical hysterectomy, partial laminectomy, bowel anastomose, then 6 rounds of chemo, was deemed NED in September of 2021, and started living my life again. In the new year of 2022, I slowly began feeling and experiencing some symptoms. I joined the gym and would go twice a day, with once by doing something active and ending the evening with yoga or a restorative class. I began working with a cancer naturopath and continued to work full time. The symptoms kept coming, one of which was weight gain and bloating. When I went to my oncologist appointment in March of 2022, I inquired about my symptoms and wasn't happy with the answers I received. This was due to it being chalked up to surgically induced menopause. Nonetheless, I did not believe them and carried on, and the symptoms did as well. When I had my oncology appointment in June of 2022, my blood work and CT scan indicated that my cancer was back and progressing quicker than it should. I was informed by my oncologist that I should end working and focus on enjoying life. Although I heard her, I scoffed it off and kept working. When my clients would ask how I was doing, I replied, good. It wasn't until I was experiencing extreme abdominal pain that and had to leave work to go to the emergency department that I realized something was wrong. At first, I thought it was due to letrozole I was taking and thought I was experiencing side effects. I was not and had my first partial bowel obstruction, more commonly known as an ileus. I had the ER doctor speak to me about quality of life and enjoying. The next day, the doctor on the floor did the same, and I continued to say in my head, yeah, okay, knowing full well that as soon as I got out of there, I was returning to work. Then a new one came in who was a palliative doctor. She held my gaze and quietly said, you need to stop working and focus on the quality of your life and enjoy. Now is the time to do all the things you want to do. It was her, the way she said it, the attention she demanded from me, and knowing what she did that it began to sink in. I was a wreck for a while after that. Being self-employed as a massage therapist for 29 years, I was going to have to end my practice. I love my job and all my clientele and did not want to have to tell any of it. Finally, I decided after many discussions with a good friend and colleague of mine, the decision being it was time to end my practice and cease working. Through tears, I constructed my email to my clientele, walked away, came back, and sent it out to all of them. I then left the house to do errands and put my phone on silent so I wouldn't hear the multitude of emails coming back. As I look back now, it was the right decision, but not an easy one. The more difficult decision came a couple months later. Do I renew my license as an RMT? Do I go inactive? Or do I retire from the profession entirely? After much thought, I decided to end my career and to notify my governing body. It wasn't until I was taking that certificate out of the glass that the waterworks came. It hit with no warning, and I had to go have a good cry. Looking back now, it was the finality of it and the action of not being able to get it back without a lot of work that triggered it. Yet another thing that this cancer has stole from me. Once I was off work, I began thinking about the what ifs of what this disease might do to me and how it would affect my family. This led me to the biggest question of all, my children. What am I going to see and what am I going to miss? What could I do for them and all those that are near and dear to me? So I began slowly with painting pottery for those special people in my heart. Some days my head was in it as I listened to music and lost myself in the painting. Other days I was struggling emotionally. The painting allowed me to focus and the negative emotional thoughts would go to the wayside. I found books at chapters to fill in for my boys about myself, my relationship with my husband, and all the things they should know in case I wasn't here. I started writing my story on my computer, and best of all, I joined the palliative day program at hospice. My first day in the hospice group, I cried and cried and cried. I was happy to be there, but I was scared at the same time, and I didn't know if I would like it or not. I ended up not crying near the end and met some nice people. It then solidified my choice to return the following week. It is now a year since I joined. I now welcome new additions to our group and help them feel comfortable being there. I raided the hospice library of books on death and dying and took notes. There were some dark days, but I filled my days with purpose. Beginning my legacy work was not hard for me. I contemplated the fact that I had been given a gift, that I was able to do this for everyone I loved. I know so many who are diagnosed too late or died too early and never have the chance to do anything, let alone spend time with family as they may no longer be here. Why not create things for my loved ones and let them have that special part of me once I'm gone forever? This also opened opportunities to have conversations with my sons about various things, and some being, what do you want me to keep for you? I wanted something that I picked out and crafted myself for them, not something they chose to pick from my possessions. The friendships I have made along the way, sharing what I do daily and how healing it has been for myself, has encouraged me to continue and to encourage others to do the same. In honor for my friend from hospice group, another friend and I dedicated and themed the walk for hospice around her hot pink energy. We were a sight that day and couldn't be missed. We donned hot pink wigs, shirts, and tutus. Our whole group did the same. The most endearing moment was when we sat down and I to write an email to my friend's family that we dedicated the walk to. I let them know how she inspired us to do it and what it meant to all of us. The email was passed along to her family. It was read to her by her bedside, and she died hours after that. I knew in my heart of hearts that she was waiting to go, as she knew we were doing this walk. This is the stuff that is part of my legacy and will never be forgotten. I assisted another of my friends with her own legacy work and had many great afternoons with her. I even got into trouble a couple of times for having her out longer than she probably should have been. If I went back, would I change anything? The answer is no. Those outings allowed her to be free from her home with her parents and to be able to start creating her own legacy projects. She couldn't drive, so I was her wheels. It opened up dialogue between us about our past and how we were truly feeling. It helped having someone else to talk to who got it. I promised her as she laid in her hospital bed, in and out of sleep in August, that I would complete her projects. Her faint reply to me was, awesome. It was a day later she died. I kept my promise and have recently completed them all. I delivered them to her family this afternoon, complete with stories about it all. I believe in my heart that they will experience mixed emotions about it, but above all, thankful that they have something created by her to cherish forever. I have since opened my Pandora's box of what I have completed, and I'm at the stage that I can begin wrapping my own stuff. The most difficult part of all will come when it's time to write that note to go with what I made for each person and every person close to my heart. Some are aware of what I'm doing, meaning making things for others. Some I share what I'm making and for whom, but I don't believe they're aware that these will be for when I'm gone. Others don't want to know at all, as they don't want to imagine a world without me in it. It is tough and difficult enough for me to wrap my head around some days. All of it is worth it, and I've learned and grown from it. I never worry about how I will fill my day, and I'm not bored at all. I even limit who I will see during the week so that I can work on my legacy projects. I am purposeful when I work on them, sometimes sentimental, and other times downright tearful. I choose items intentionally and make them with intent for that special person. At times, the work is exhausting, especially if there are emotions attached to it that day. The work that I do in my legacy work is rewarding. In what way is it rewarding? Seeing something through from start to finish is very satisfying. It also warms my heart to know I am leaving things for my loved ones with messages that are from me personally. It helps me to work through thoughts that are in my head and to find peace with what is to come one day. Knowing I've done everything I can to prepare both myself and them for the inevitable. To find a way to help them through it all and heal. What looks like it for you may differ from what I'm doing. It's all individual. You need to make it meaningful to you. I know a fellow Teal sister is compiling poems she has written together in a book format. I have a fellow friend in my palliative day program that is recording herself reading a book to her grandson so that he can grab the book and read along with her forever. In being in the open art program at hospice, I've seen many projects completed and mainly by people in the grief program. Even though I'm palliative, the theme is the same, grief. They grieve loved ones lost. I grieve the loss of myself and what it will mean to those left behind. In this program, there's a multitude of mediums and products to work with so that one can create wonderful items for yourself and your family. If you have a hospice program near you, check it out in your own community. I know I'm thankful daily for reaching out and asking to participate. I've had both my boys come inside hospice where my program is located so that it's normalized for them. So they see caring people work there and it's nothing like a hospital. Whatever you choose your legacy to be, I'm positive there's something out there that you can create and leave for your loved ones. It will fill you with a sense of pride and joy when you complete it. When I work on my recipe books for my boys, I think of the times I made the recipe and how much I enjoy it with them. I have some photos of the finished recipes as well that I can put into their books. Since my mom and my aunt have both given them a cookbook with the recipes in it, these are our special recipes that are not in their books. Now I know neither of them will fight over my recipe books as they will have them all in one place and memories to look back on. In doing my writing, I get to say things I would have if I had been here. I am both doing an autofill book and writing a separate book for them about myself with things I think they should know or be reminded of. Some things will remain unsaid as I don't feel they will have a place or that they are worth mentioning. This is a time-consuming and mentally, emotionally draining activity for me. It is a dig deep kind of activity, which is difficult to do some days. Reflecting is good for me as well as very healing. My knitting has consisted of making them both 4 baby cocoons in different colors. I have no idea if they will have children or if they won't, but I do know I will have a gift for them at that time should they be blessed to have any. I am also knitting baby blankets for them. It is cathartic and something I can do while having a conversation with someone or watching a show. It's good for my hands to be moving, and I usually try to do laundry at the same time, so I remember to get up and move. I'm learning how to follow a pattern with crocheting, which allows me to spend time with my aunt and uncle, who are my godparents. It is something I would do if I were alive, so I ask the question to myself, why not now? I started as a peer support volunteer on Old Dialogue in 2021. For me, it was like an extension of my work, listening to others discuss their day and what was stressing them out. I filled in for the past moderator when she was unable, and I'm currently moderating Old Dialogue on a daily basis. I feel full. I'm thankful to be able to do this, to have a safe space that the Teal sisters can come to and vent about what is going on that they feel they can't share with others. For those that are new to the site, to welcome them, reassure them, and assist with any questions or feelings they're having that day. To bring the sisters together, creating an environment where everyone is welcome and their voices matter. Here's a quote from a book I read entitled I Don't Know What to Say by Dr. Robert Buckman. In general, two kinds of support would be most valuable. Practical support in sorting out the details of your life, when one might call last wishes, and emotional support in reinforcing the idea that dying doesn't rob your life of meaning, reassurance that you won't be forgotten by the people that you have known and who survived you. This quote is why I do legacy work and the importance of it for myself and my loved ones. My driving force throughout all of this has been how much time do I have left and how hard do I have to work to get my projects completed. When I am informed of where my condition is at and where it's headed, the first thing I ask is, what does that look like and how much time do you think I have? Currently, I'm halfway through the timeline given last year. No one knows if it will be accurate or not, and it doesn't matter either way. It is what drives or propels me forward, to spend time with my loved ones and to continue working on their legacy projects. I know there will be a time that I will be unable to work on my legacy projects, but for now I want to remain in control for it as long as I can. Perhaps you may decide to do something similar for those you love as well. Whatever it looks like, or whatever you decide to do, is the right answer for you. It is your legacy. Now all you have to do is start. Thank you for allowing me to share, and hope it inspires some to be brave and begin working on their own legacy. I will leave you with one last final quote from the book Die Wise by Stephen Jenkinson. When you don't let the dying change how you live together, whatever the motivation, the consequences missed, last chances for authentic talk between you, shared sorrow, teaching, learning how to live as if what is happening is happening. I will let that sink in, and then I urge you to begin. Here are a couple things that I have made. This is a little thing for my nephew, and here is one of the baby cocoons. I will now pass it over to Paula, who has some more thoughts and insights on legacy work.
Thanks so much, Tammy. I found that really emotional. My sister moved to hospice today, so I'm fighting back the tears listening to you. So thank you, and I will try just not to sob through the rest of this. So anyways, just really beautiful, and I love all your ideas and the joy of living in the now that you share. So my own understanding of legacy as a loved one is really intimately linked to the idea of narrative medicine. And narrative medicine really is the idea that we as human beings are storied creatures. We live with stories, we die with stories, and we experience illness in a storied way. You are more. We all know this. You're more than your charts and your scans and your test results. Might feel that way sometimes. You're more than your diagnosis. And your experience of ovarian cancer is more than this. But more importantly, when you're thinking about your legacy, your whole self is more than your cancer. And I think Tammy addressed some of this. Why do legacy work? Why bother? And especially in my case, what I'm going to talk about is legacy storytelling. Doesn't this mean I'm talking or thinking or writing about death? Won't it make me and the people I love feel yucky? Let's talk about that for a minute. It's my opinion that the small L legacy work is ultimately more about life and living and loved ones and less about death and dying. For me, small L legacy work is about the memory making or storytelling process and not so much about the product. I mean, Tammy showed us these incredible products that she's making, but for me, the writing, the storytelling is actually more process oriented. So it's about the way it can make you and your loved ones feel while you're still here, and less about the end result. It's about involving the living, you and your loved ones, and giving them the gift of your time, attention, and energy. And these are precious gifts, especially if they feel limited for you. And for many people, particularly if you're having recurrence, they can feel limited. So what legacy work is, again, it's about after, it's about others, but it's for now and it's for you. Because it can remind you of your full self, of your more than ovarian cancer self. So how to get started? This is really very personal. How can you talk to your loved ones about legacy work? This may be a really natural conversation for some people, or it might be a difficult conversation, but they don't have to be hard to get going. You might feel like, am I going to scare my family by saying, hey guys, I want to get my story down. Or I think I'm dying. I want to record a video. Maybe you might scare them. Only you know them. But as the loved one, as the caregiver, as the support person, I can tell you this. Your loved ones are probably going a bit nuts trying to help you. And we know you're sick. You're probably not as good as hiding it as you think you are. And remember that legacy work focuses on the now part of life, on something other than treatments and test results, on the whole person. And that's really life affirming. And it can bring hope and lightness into a sometimes dark and really difficult time. But I would offer you a word of caution. Please take care of yourself while embarking on legacy work. It can be exhilarating and bring a sense of accomplishment, but it can be tiring and bring up feelings of sadness or longing. So ensure that your support system is in place when you do legacy work, whether it's your family members, a counselor, therapist, spiritual advisor, whatever's right for you. And allow yourself to feel the feelings. Tammy was really good about this. For example, like I recently helped my sister do her will. She wants to leave certain pieces of jewelry to our nieces. And I helped her record messages to them about the origins of these rings and how she felt when our grandmother gave her the rings. This made her feel good. We did it in the emergency room. It was kind of very weird. But it was a sense of control for her, even peace. It also made her a little bit sad, of course. So allow yourself and the person helping you to do legacy work to sort of rest in those feelings. But for Lindsay, she ultimately felt better writing those letters to our nieces than not writing them. So for her, that was the right choice. So get help with legacy projects. My guess is your loved ones are searching for ways to help you. Please let us help you. It not only helps you tell your story and craft and capture memories, but the time spent doing so is a gift to your loved ones. You can start by saying simply, I'm getting a bit tired here. This might help me feel better. Or, it would be fun. It would make me feel less worried, less sad, less lonely, less isolated, less out of control, like I'm going to lose my mind with worry, whatever is going on in your head. Let's record a video. Let's write my story. Hey, grab your phone. Come interview me. Grab that pad of paper. Let's go. And so on. And it can be fun. Remember fun? I did a recorded Zoom interview project with Lindsay, my sister, and I'll tell you a bit about that more later. We had a blast. Our interviews are full of these in-jokes, outtakes, fresh nectarines, words to our imaginary sponsors, red licorice at breakfast time, eye-rolling, shared insights, and so much love and laughter. And we end up talking about cancer too, and autism. But anyways, it's beside the point. We connected and shared time. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about these three main examples that I've used in my family that focus on storytelling and small L legacy work. But there's a lot of creative options. You can write or record letters to loved ones, audio or video, record dances or songs, tell a story through a book of recipes. Tammy mentioned that, poetry, collected favorite phrases or stories. How about writing your own really bad haiku or country songs? Do a photo journal or take a road trip or a walk if you're feeling up for it, and record your thoughts about the places you see. Again, remember, it's the process of legacy work, how it makes you feel and how it makes those around you feel that matters most. Not what you actually produce, I think. The pottery can be ugly. The poetry can be atrocious. The story can be full of spelling mistakes. Who cares? If it is an opportunity for you to express your more than ovarian cancer self, then it's worthwhile in my books. So let's look at these three legacy storytelling examples in detail. The first one is StoryWorth. Now, in the introduction, I say that I support my sister with recurrent ovarian cancer, but I also support my husband with prostate cancer. And he's done his own storytelling legacy work in a more formal way through a paid program called StoryWorth. And StoryWorth asks you to write one short piece per week for 52 weeks based on specific questions or prompts, or actually you can write about anything that you want. Then at the end, you receive a lovely hardcover book, and you can, of course, purchase more copies as gifts, which we did. But you can set this up on your own. If your budget is, a little bit stretched, you can set this up on your own and bind the finished product really inexpensively as well. So my husband, Bill, was given Storyworth as a gift by his daughter the year after his cancer diagnosis, and he loved it. The year that he wrote Storyworth every week for 52 weeks was an incredible year. He wrote one story a week, 52 weeks. I can't tell you how much life that brought into our house. I even edited his work, and I do recommend that over marriage counseling. And his children read these stories as they were published weekly. Most of the time, the reaction was one of two things. Wow, Dad, I knew part of that story, but not all of it. Or, how is it possible that I did not know that after all of these years? So the final product, had the intended effect of giving the whole family something to talk about other than cancer. But the process of writing week by week was, in fact, really fun and refocusing. In fact, I hope you guys find this funny, because I do. I remember before one scan, my husband was very worried. So he typed up a list of the Storyworth stories he wanted published in case he imminently died at the scan. He wasn't going to die, trust me. He was a bit of a drama queen. And I said, I laugh when I think about that list, because I said, honey, if you die, I think I'm going to worry about a few more things than just publishing your Storyworth stories. But they were really important to him. And by the way, he's doing great and he's just fine. And I think he should work on the second volume. So that's a formal way that you can do it. A less formal way, a second example, is what I call Scotch and Stories. This is a legacy storytelling example that I used with my mom. So Lindsay and I lost our mom in 2019. And in the last week of Mom's life, Mom finally agreed to my request for an interview. I'm a little bit persistent in this way, as you can probably get. She did not want to be recorded. She didn't want anything formal. But she did finally allow me to, in the last week of her life, sit in a chair in her living room with simply a coil notebook and a pen. And I asked her about her life. We called it Scotch and Stories. The stories part is obvious. The Scotch part was Mom's thing, and I partook of that because it was 5 o'clock, close enough anyways. And she started young and ended old, talking about her childhood, young marriage, motherhood, career, retirement, and all along her reflections about the world. Most of the stories I'd heard before, some I hadn't. So let's look at this from a couple of perspectives. At the end of my mother's life, she was asked about all of her life, not just her current illness and impending death. She was given time, given space. We shared time. We shared space. I know that that was the greatest gift I could have given her at that time. And she gave me a gift and a legacy, some of which I've just started to write about. But even if that coiled notebook was never cracked open, the experience of speaking to someone at the end of their life or while they are deep in illness is in fact a gift for both the speaker and the listener. What happens to the product of that storytelling process? It is important, but the act of telling or writing about your life and the precious time spent doing so is healing, revelatory, fun, and so valuable. And finally, back to Lindsay, my sister. The Lindsay Interview Project. I referred to this a bit earlier. This is part of my narrative medicine work to explore the experience of ovarian cancer from the perspective of a person on the autism spectrum. I devised a set of general questions for Lindsay and interviewed her 2 times, 1 year apart. What resulted were 2 2-hour-long Zoom interviews, which I have recorded and saved in both audio and video format. In these, Lindsay reflects on her experience as an autistic person, tells the story of the long and winding road to diagnosis, what it was like to receive chemo, have surgery, encounter various healthcare providers, and all the frustrating, infuriating, and sometimes funny bits along the way. We have snacks our cats walk through We laugh a lot, we cry a little bit, we remember, we reflect, and we wonder, and it's all recorded. And then I carefully transcribed the interviews and gifted her with them. And I've been able to share them with the family as well. And I simply use the free version of Zoom, which is widely accessible, but you can use whichever formats work best for you. And finally, I'd like to speak a little bit about where this small L legacy work can overlap into big L legacy work in the form of advocacy. So what I did is I translated the Lindsay interview project into a self-advocacy guide for autistic cancer patients, taking her story and her experience of ovarian cancer as a person on the autism spectrum, and then researching and realizing that cancer care can and should be improved for autistic people. We're working with Autism Canada to have the guide mobilized and distributed. This feels good for Lindsay, like her life and her cancer experience is making a difference for others, and that her insights are valuable and may in fact affect change in the long term and improve the cancer experiences of others. As her loved one, doing this advocacy work with and for Lindsay lifts my heart and lends a kind of permanence and importance to a time in both of our lives that for different reasons can feel fleeting and passed over, isolating and silencing. And frankly, I'm really fired up to ensure that her story, her legacy is not lost. It's a living legacy, and it's a legacy of life. So in conclusion, I echo Tammy. I encourage you to start. Start small, start now. Ask your loved ones. Trust me, they want to help. Use the technology and methods that work best for you. Think about how it makes you feel and how it makes those around you feel. To spend time and pay attention to all the little things that make you, you. All the non-ovarian cancer things, because there's a lot. Get a little notebook, a voice file, a sketchbook by your bed or your chair. Find a way to record your words and your wisdom, the things that make you snort with laughter, the things you find heartbreakingly beautiful in this world. When you look at the young people in your life, what do you want them to know about you? What do you really want them to know about you? Don't wait for someone else to define your legacy. Plant the seeds now, and then you can watch the tiny green shoots grow. The act of planting, the creating, the writing, the recording, even thinking about what you want to do and say can be so healing and so worthwhile. Thank you.
Wow. So thank you, Paula and Tammy, so much for sharing with us and guiding us about how to create our own legacies. When you have a chance, go through the chat. There are so many comments about just how moved people are, a lot of emotions, a lot of inspiration. So thank you so much for sharing such personal insights with us tonight. There was one kind of question in the chat that I want to start us off with. We have a few minutes for a conversation, which is, how would you suggest starting a conversation about legacy with a family member who maybe doesn't think your illness is a big enough deal? The specific comment in the chat was because that person didn't have chemotherapy. So if a family member is maybe dismissing the experience you've had, how would you suggest starting that conversation about legacy?
Can you repeat that for me?
Yeah, sure. So someone in the chat was saying that they feel, that their family doesn't think their illness was a big enough deal because they didn't have chemotherapy. So with that in mind, how would you suggest starting a legacy conversation, maybe with a family member who doesn't think that your experience has been a big enough deal to warrant a conversation about legacy?
That's, I think, really difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
they could start a legacy project on their own with that, even without them. And just to start doing things if it was important to them, and this is what it's brought about for them, even if people don't believe them, don't believe where it's headed, you still have to do things for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Paula, did you have any thoughts you'd like to add?
Yeah, first of all, I'm so sorry that your family member is not honoring your experience, because that's got to be really, really difficult. I'm really sorry that that's happening in your life. I would agree with Tammy. I would just start small in the ways that feel right for you, to whether it's through whatever creative ways, whether it's an artistic endeavor, a writing endeavor, some of the ways that Tammy suggested as well. And they don't have to be with your family. They are ultimately for your family, and it's nice to share that experience and share time. But if you are feeling that urge to do legacy-ish kind of things, to do them yourself. And ultimately, we don't know what's going to happen with any of us. So if that feels right for you, if that movement, that moment feels right for you, to do that, and then I would hope and trust that ultimately down the road, if and when those projects land in the hands of your loved ones, that they will appreciate that and honor that moment for you.
Yeah, I would hope so too. I'm wondering if either of you would speak to, or what you would say to someone who's maybe worried that if they start to think about what their legacy means, that they are in some way hastening their own death, or that legacy work means that death is imminent. So could you maybe speak to the significance of legacy work for all people, regardless of their illness status or where they are as it relates to their illness?
Well, I kind of think of it as I'm doing these things like, if my timeline doesn't end up being my timeline, well, I've completed all these things and I can live and enjoy and still do things with people. And then I will have a sense of peace when, if it does come to be my time, that I've done everything I need to do. So I kind of look at it from that perspective. And I don't think you have to wait until you have a diagnosis. I think you can start a legacy project anytime you want, while you're able to. You don't know what's coming around the corner.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Paula?
Yeah, I agree. I don't believe we're that powerful, actually. I don't believe that the act of, I mean, I know my writing is not that powerful to create death or life through it. So I think that I understand, because it feels like walking into that space, that kind of death space, right? Because when we think legacy, we automatically associate it with death. And that's an understandable attachment. I understand that. But I mean, let's face it, creating a blanket or a piece of pottery or a piece of writing, if we take a step back, that actually cannot affect the course of one's cancer. It really can't. We know that. What it does to your own headspace, your own emotional space, it might actually make you feel, it might reduce some of those stressful emotions. I mean, as someone who is not experiencing ovarian cancer, so I'm speaking as from an outsider perspective here, it might make you, I'm just going back to that experience in the emergency room with my sister a couple of weeks ago, in which it was very strange recording these messages, and I was feeling weird about it, like, this is not the right thing. This is very deathy. It felt very deathy. And she's like, I want to do this. It feels good. I want to do it. Again, better to do than not to do, is in that case for her. And of course, it did not affect the outcome of the emergency room, right? I mean, it didn't. So for her, again, the right choice there.
If anything, it gave you something meaningful to do while you're waiting in the emergency room, right?
And there's a whole lot of waiting in the emergency rooms, as we
all
know. So.
That's for sure. Well, I'm excited to share that we are right on time tonight. So this is wonderful. So I want to take a moment again to thank sincerely Paula and Tammy for sharing your wisdom and your tips and such personal experiences and your knowledge with us this evening. So a huge thank you. And if you're looking to find out more about what's been talked about tonight in this session, you can actually register for our next speaker series. It's actually going to be led by Paula, and it's titled Writing Your Ovarian Cancer Story, a Narrative Medicine Interactive Workshop. So we're really excited about this. It's an interactive session. There's a capacity of only 25 participants, so please sign up only if you're able to attend. And that registration, it's going to be posted on the Ovarian Cancer Canada website within the next week. So it's not available yet to register, but it will be within the week, and I'm sure it'll be a very popular session. Okay, so I'd like to invite you all to take a break now to join us for a movement break, actually brought to us by the Excel program. So for details about the Excel program, you can check out the chat. And we encourage you to just take a few minutes, have a stretch, and we will see you back here in 10 minutes where we're going to talk about financial supports with Eileen Schiller. So we'll see you at 7:10. Thanks, everyone.